You're on the Six Screens Telenetwork, earning the reputation of giving all the right ingredients, uninhibited, in exposing the hard, cold facts about the Watchtower Society.
Well, it's so good to see all of our friends coming into the Six Screens JW World News. Friends, we've been doing this now every Saturday night for 20 years and talking to people all over the world about their trek in the Watchtower organization. Well, my name is Rick Farron. I'm coming to you from the apostate capital of the world, right up here in Boston, Massachusetts. And I say that with full credibility. You know, we had the most amount of opposers and apostates and people that were critics of the Watchtower. We had the most amount ever gathered in the history of the Watchtower. We had 350 people come up here on August 1st, 2nd, 3rd. We had the first ex-Jehovah's Witness convention right up here in the Boston area. So we lay claim to the apostate capital of the world. And don't you worry if you don't have any apostates near you. They're coming. No doubt about it. They'll be coming. So by all means, look to that day because it's right around the corner. More and more people are leaving the Watchtower organization than ever before. This is a historical time in the world of the Watchtower. Friends, there has been times in the past, 2 times that I can remember explicitly was when Rutherford came into office. And of course, what happened back then in the 1930s is Rutherford, well, actually the 20s, Rutherford came into office. And of course, 250,000 people who were connected with Charles Taze Russell left. They were called Bible students at the time. They were not Jehovah's Witnesses. Rutherford came up with that name. But 250,000 people left when Rutherford came into office back in the 1920s. Now, also, we have to move up to 1975. You know, 250,000 people left then too. Disappointed with Watchtower saying the end was coming. We all know they said it. And consequently, people got ticked off and left 250,000. Let me tell you something. I'm not going to tell you right now 250,000 people left, but I'm going to tell you what. They're getting ready. I'm talking about 4 million that are getting ready to leave. There's 4 million PMOs, Jehovah's Witnesses that are physically in, mentally out. And they're packing the bags as we speak. They're getting ready to leave this organization. They're just waiting for the ideal time. And that ideal time is right around the corner. And we're going to get into that tonight. We're going to tell you why it's around the corner. Well, why can I say? I'm not looking through rose-colored glasses here, friends. And I've been counting down the days of the Watchtower for 20 years. And I have never seen the critical, cynical news that I'm seeing now on the Jehovah's Witness organization. And I'm so happy to see all of the countries now that are coming down hard on the Watchtower. And this is something we needed. You know, just upwards of, say, 6-7 years ago, countries weren't coming against the Watchtower. I mean, Russia had their own bones to pick with the Watchtower. But now what we've got, we have a number of countries around the world that are saying enough is enough with the Watchtower. We're going to get into that. But I certainly do thank you for coming in, wanting to be with us, spend your night here, a Saturday night with me. And people call in from all over the world. And if you're listening in online and you want to call into the program, you can see it right there in the bottom of YouTube, in the bottom of Facebook. So by all means, don't be inhibited and muster up the courage. Do you know how important it is when you folks come in and talk? People listen. Can you imagine now? I don't know how long you've been out of the organization, but I've been out now for 20 years. And I'm going to tell you something. This really would have rocked my boat when I was getting out. I would have loved to hear people in real time talking about how they've been adversely affected by the Watchtower organization. So you listen in here tonight. maybe it's not time for you to speak up, but you're going to hear people speaking up and calling in and sharing their stories on how they have been treated in the Watchtower organization. Well, let's take a look. Let's see what's going on behind the world news of Jehovah's Witnesses. Let's take a look into into my news script here and take a look and see what we can talk about tonight. Well, the first thing I want to bring up, and I'll bring this up in such a way that I mean, it might not be new news to you because it happened earlier this week. But I'm going to bring it up tonight because it certainly is something that we certainly want to be able to share with you folks because it's so meaningful. It is so interesting to see these countries, France, Norway, and now Sweden. Jehovah's Witness cult. The Jehovah's Witness cult is facing war on all fronts. We should be rejoicing. I'm rejoicing. I hope you are. Yes, the Jehovah's Witness organization is facing war on all fronts. The nations are coming after the witnesses. That's good news to me, and it's good news to you. The Watchtower cult is finally having a dose of its own medicine by battling not one, not two, but three countries on all fronts. And friends, I tell you, there's other countries lined up that are coming against the Watchtower as well. They have the Watchtower organization under the microscope. Japan, Belgium, yes, those countries as well. Slovakia, another country that's ticked off with the Watchtower. So, they're really creating some. Denmark as well. There's about 12 different countries that are coming down on the Watchtower. They have them under, as I say, the microscope. Now, I hope they all the countries in Europe. I hope our country here, America. I hope many more countries will follow. And I hope they lose their status in all of these European countries because, as I said here before, and you guys know it anyways, the Watchtower gets money in Europe from the European governments for the amount of Watchtower Jehovah's Witness members they have. The more members, the more Jehovah's Witnesses get. Watchtower gets, I should say. So what you have here, we talked about before, Norway. Now, Norway no longer gives they call it charitable works in the governments of these countries. And what it is these European countries feel that if they give the money and put it in the hands of religion, rather than totally in the hands of the government, the religion can get quicker to the needs of the people, giving them what they would need, food and clothing, shelter perhaps. But, that's not true with the Watchtower. They've been getting money from these countries, but do they really do anything to help the people? Do they really? I don't see it. Maybe you do, but I don't. Now, so the more people, the more Jehovah's Witnesses Watchtower has in these European countries, the more money. Well, in Norway, for over 20 years, I was keeping track of it. They were getting a ton of money. They were getting over $1 million a year. I'm not sure for all of the 20 years, but I know recently when their last payment was $1 million, close to $1.25 million, $1.5 million, somewhere in that area. Money. It's a lot of money that they were getting. And now you add that up over the course of years, and you add up all these countries now coming down on them, they're going to lose a serious chunk of change. It could be well into the tens of millions, even $1 billion. They get a lot of money from these countries. So now we can see that the pressure is on Watchtower. The governing body, according to the Swedish government, they have decided that shunning is, the governing body has decided that shunning is something that Jesus more or less gave as a loving arrangement. Well, Sweden doesn't agree with that, and hopefully they can really get rid of this shunning. Hopefully they can do away with it. Hopefully they can do away with blood transfusions. That's another thing that the Watchtower has been doing. People are dying and countries are getting upset over this. So maybe They might even announce, who knows? I'm not saying they would, but maybe in light of what's going to happen in Sweden and what's already happened in Norway, maybe they're going to decide that shunning, after all, is not such a loving arrangement. And maybe they'll let transfusions go as a conscientious matter. So, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but the Watchtower is going to have to bend a little bit here. If they want to keep their ship afloat and continue to get money from these countries, they're going to have to do something. And perhaps they'll even allow birthdays. Yes. Now, and even as we well know, Jehovah's Witnesses for years, you could never become an actor. You couldn't participate in college sports. You couldn't be a politician. But maybe now the Watchtower says, new light, you can now become an actor or an actress. You can participate in college sports. You can even be a politician. Maybe the Watchtower, but I don't know. I might be looking through rose-colored glasses on that one, but it could happen. I'll tell you what, when you hit in the pocketbook, when it's a money thing, and the Watchtower is all about money, well, that's where it hurts. That's when you start changing rules. That's when you start bending in the direction of the person who's handing you the money. You start cozying up to them. Will they cozy up to the Swedish government? I don't know. It's a good possibility they will. Well, just in the last week, it would have been actually a little more than a week, October 24th, 2025, the Swedish government, the authorities in Sweden, they no longer appreciate Jehovah's Witnesses in that country. Now, they're not going to ban them like Russia has done. They're not going to disallow them from giving marriages. They're not going to disallow them from meeting in their kingdom halls. But what they're going to do in Sweden, no money, no more money, because I'll tell you what, the Swedish government, like these other countries, and many countries will be following, what they have done is they don't want to give any religion or any organization that is in Sweden, they don't want to give them anything because they don't want to follow the rules of getting that money. In life, if you follow the rules, you get the money. If you go to work and you're a good worker for your boss and he keeps you working, he's going to pay you at the end. You get the money. And even the social welfare systems, if you meet the criteria and you play by the rules, you will get the money from the government that you need to support yourself and family. Well, it's the same way that the Watchtower should be getting their funds from these countries. They gotta play by the rules. So the Swedish government says, no, you're not playing by the rules. For one thing, there's a couple of things that they don't like, and so they're rejecting the eligibility for financial support to the Jehovah's Witnesses. Now, there's two things that got the witnesses in trouble here. The two things that got the witnesses in trouble in Sweden has to do with shunning, but the biggest thing has to do in violating human rights concerning homosexuals. Now, you cannot do this in Sweden. The witnesses and the Swedish government is 100% knowing this. The Watchtower has printed so many articles and condemning homosexuals, condemning the act of homosexuality, and the Swedish government says that is discrimination. And if a Jehovah's Witness married a homosexual and they were heterosexual, there'd be disfellowship, and not only that, but the person would be shunned. So it's kind of same ball game here. You practice it. You marry someone that's a homosexual and you're not, or if you are, you can't be one as a Jehovah's Witness. So then you're shunned. So the Swedish government says, no, we're not gonna give you the money. So what's the Watchtower gonna do? It's really in a real pickle right now. It's gonna really create a problem. Now, will the Watchtower, and I mentioned this a few weeks back, will the Watchtower now say that homosexuality is a choice by conscience. Let your conscience be the guide. I mean, can they really say that on homosexuality? I rather doubt it, but I don't know what the Watchtower has up their sleeves. So this decision is already up and made known in Sweden. And Jehovah's Witness organization knows it. They're not going to be getting any money from the Swedish government. Now, shunning is a problem, like I say, and choice of partner or sexual orientation is also the big principles here that they're working with. There's a violation of human rights. And I really do wish that more countries would come up with these internal rules of human rights and really support groups that do give human rights and eliminate groups that don't. So we can see that this emphasis by the British government is to really put a real bug in the ear of the Jehovah's Witness organization. By denying funding, Sweden is sending a signal to the Watchtower. Now, is their antenna up? Is the governing body's antenna up? Are they starting to think, oh my goodness, well, what if this spreads across all of Europe? Well, what if every other country now, France is next on the chopping block. So what if every other country does this? They could lose millions and millions. In other words, Sweden, France, just about there as well, Norway, they won't pay for practices it considers coercive or discriminatory, even when it's done in the name of religion. Now, you can't go to the Swedish government, Watchtower, maybe in the past, they tried it with Norway, they tried it with Australia, they tried to present this, religion is their basis of moving in a given direction. So the Watchtower can't go and say, well, we're a religion, Sweden, and, we don't allow homosexuality because the Bible, we're following the Bible. I'm sure that's the argument that they would have. But the Swedish government's going to say, nope, we don't care if you're religion or not. We're not going to go along with you. You're not getting the money. I mean, really, wouldn't it be nice if all the countries would do that? And, I'll tell you something. I got thinking here, even adding some figures up here. Do you realize the litigation, the legal fees the Watchtower is going to have to pay to try to get these countries to come their way? And I don't believe it's going to happen. They're still under appeal in Norway. They're not getting the money, by the way, while they're waiting for that appeal. And the legal fees in Norway. Well, they had his name was a lawyer, attorney Rysdell, and he wasn't even Jehovah's Witness. And they had him trying to convince the Norwegian government that, you should give the witnesses the money, give the witnesses the Watchtower the money. They had this Rysdell. Now, that cost the Watchtower, I get the figures here, $600,000. If my memory serves me correct, I remember hearing this, $600,000, over $500,000. They paid that one lawyer alone, to represent them in their court case with the Norwegian government. So you can see they're not going to weasel out of this. There's no way they can weasel out. Now, the shunning, they tried it. They tried to say that, we're really not, it's not as bad as you think, Norway. It's not that we hate the people. They come up with this screwy story that, they look at it as love and trying to get them back to the congregation. But they're not going to weasel out of this in Sweden, because the shunning is part and parcel going along with the position on homosexuality. So I don't know what the Watchtower is going to come up with. It's going to be very interesting to see how they're going to be able to, convince I think they're dead in the water. I can't imagine any defense at all they would have. It's a discrimination is what it is. The Swedish government, they're not going to even look at it. So, well, I'll tell you what, even, many governments are going to come after the Watchtower, and Watchtower, it's an odd religion. And the governments know it's an odd religion. They don't, well, in France, they call them a sect, which is kind of, well, it's the same as a cult as we would know it. So the French government knows it even, that they're a sect or a cult as well. Now, do Jehovah's Witnesses, that this is the other thing, even to the point of, okay, so the Jehovah's Witnesses are going to fight hard to try to get the subsidies or the money from the governments in Europe. And even Otto, what really gets my feelings up here is, the Watchtower organization, they never had anything good to say about a government. Really, these governments are going to be destroyed, and Jehovah doesn't like the governments and all of this. But yet at the same time, they're so willing to be able to accept money from them. I mean, you condemn them on one hand, and on the other hand, you get your hand out looking for the money coming in from these countries. So, but what does the Watchtower do? Now, I'm not a strict understander of religious philosophy or ideals here, but I can think that I know the Catholic Church gets money from Sweden and Norway, and I would believe, and I do know, that the Catholic Church would help some of the poor people in those countries. They help the poor people here in America with Catholic charities, and I know that they'd have food banks, and they'd have places where you could go if you needed some shelter. And I'm sure they do that in these foreign countries, the Catholic Church and other religious organizations. But really, what does the Watchtower do? They're getting money from these governments. What are they doing? They don't offer housing. They don't offer food support. They don't offer any financial support or health support or anything. I mean, when
it's interesting because it's 42 million people in America right now that are needing a dinner. And that's not counting the 2 million federal workers laid off who have never been indigent in their lives, and about 1 million of the low-ranking family of young military families. Yeah. So we'll see if the Kingdom Halls open their doors with any kind of assistance.
I doubt they will.
I doubt they will too. And the legal part of the gay marriage is interesting. When I was working in D.C. and rode the metro every day, there was a free newspaper, and so I would read it on my trip. And they had the legal battle of how they got gay marriage. Well, it was determined that there's less disease risk if Roger and Bill are married to each other. And it was also determined that they would buy houses and help their community look better. And so the governments of the world think this is a very prudent idea. And the Methodist Church has split because of it. The Episcopal is split because of it, and maybe others, I don't know. So it could be the witnesses might split in Europe because of this. I don't know.
Well, it could happen. This is something that really, I mean, if you were a Watchtower official right now, Pixie, a high official of the Watchtower, you'd be having anxiety and panic attacks. This could have a rippling effect. It really, really could. And, the Watchtower, they talk a good game, but actions speak louder than words, as the old saying goes. And this idea of, really, when countries give a church money, they're expecting that church or the organization's money, the Catholic Church, the Watchtower, whoever, they're expecting that they're going to get that money in the hands of the people. But, whenever there's I'll just go here in America, and I know the same thing takes place in Europe. I know it does because I have friends over there that say the same thing. So here's what happens. I have never, in the 20 years of doing this program, I have asked on numerous occasions, has anyone listening in our audience here tonight, has anyone ever been helped by the Watchtower organization financially? Never. No one ever called in. Now, people said, well, I was helped by my local elder. I was helped by, a brother and sister in the Kingdom Hall that helped me when I had a hard time. And, but the Watchtower does not dig in their own pockets. And
They lied to me because that box of food was signed by Donald John Trump in very big letters. And it said farmers to families on it.
yeah.
And they said it was from Jehovah. Well, I didn't see a big fingerprint on it from a very large desert god.
Well, I'll tell you, Pixie, that's funny.
Yeah, there's a fix for this, and what the government should do is when somebody is labeled a charity, they should have some rules and guidelines for what a charity is. For example, in order to be a charity, if you're a religious charity, you need to provide food, you need to provide support to your members. That way, if Watchtower's not doing that, which they're not, then they lose their funding or their money, because most all churches do give food. I mean, even the witnesses will complain against the Catholic Church, saying, "Oh, they're of Satan" and all this stuff. But I hate to tell the Watchtower this, but Satan even gives food out to people. Why aren't they doing it?
Well, you got a good point with that, Donald. You really do. So, the interesting thing here with Sweden, and this really tickled me pink when I heard this, in 2026, now that's next year, next summer, guess what? They're having an international convention in Sweden, in Stockholm. I kind of, yeah, no, what, in fact, that kind of got me thinking. So there's going to be thousands of Jehovah's Witnesses traveling around the world. They'll be traveling to Stockholm, Sweden, for their international convention coming up in July 2026. So is the governing body happy over this? Well, they kind of got a bone to pick with Sweden right now. So they're probably upset that all these Jehovah's Witnesses will going into Stockholm, will spend all their money, in the government, and spend tons of it, millions of dollars, I'm sure. And of course, Watchtower is watching that money just being given to a government that at this point they probably can't stand. And so I'm just thinking here. In fact, it's funny because, we all heard about Stockholm syndrome, right? Yeah. So it's kind of like, could that be Stockholm syndrome? It was funny how words can come together and really give you some more understanding. But Stockholm syndrome. People say, well, what is that? Well, it's something that happens in cults. And if everyone remembers Patty Hearst, I believe that was back in the 1980s, and she was kidnapped. Now, she was the daughter of a big newspaper man, and he was a multimillionaire. So they kidnapped I forget, Liberation Army, Simonese Liberation Army or something like that. They were like a cult, and they kidnapped Patty Hearst. And what happens is, what Stockholm syndrome is if a person is taken into a group and kind of indoctrinated through high level mind control, that at first it's very scary and, it's an enemy. These people kidnapped me. But after a little while, they kind of, the cult grows on the person, and the person becomes a full-fledged cult member. So that's what happens with a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses. They suffer from Stockholm syndrome. So I thought it was kind of funny that they're having the conventions. Yeah, go ahead.
I am sorry for interrupting. That kidnapping took place in 1973. She was the daughter of a very famous, I think he had a newspaper, Randolph Hearst. And the Stockholm syndrome made everybody understand how they could switch her, a nice, good girl, into being one of them. And it's like you said, the cult mentality is very powerful. And you were just submerged into it if you were a kidnapped victim like Patty Hearst. And it's a survivor skill. And we did the same thing in the Watchtower. You either conform and go along to get along, or you don't survive. It's kind of like that. Thank you, Rick.
Well, thank you, Anne-Marie, for clarifying that. I just thought of that as looking at Stockholm and Sweden and Stockholm syndrome. So I put the two and two together. But I thought that's interesting. So it was way back in the 70s. I thought it was the 80s, but thank you for clarifying that. Yeah. So, anyways,
Your supermarket in Tewksbury was on my television.
it was. What was it?
Yeah, because this lady was slapping this guy in the next week over groceries. And these two other ladies walked out with like caviar and stuff.
Oh, was that because of the food stamps being cut off?
Yeah, and it was the Tewksbury Market Basket store.
Wow. Well, that's their headquarters up here too. They have the main warehouse, and also we have a couple of stores here in Tewksbury. Well, thank you, Pixie, for sharing that. Yeah, yeah. So I'm just wondering now. We got the witnesses going to the international convention in Stockholm, Sweden. Now I'm wondering, the news media, they cover. I'm just gonna, Amory, I'm just gonna mute you if you don't. Okay, let's see. So, anyways, the news media they cover these conventions big time, and I'm just wondering what they're going to say. They're going to cover the Jehovah's Witness convention. Here the witnesses are being denied the money, so the government's going to come out and say that. Well, they're probably going to say something along the lines like, well, here's a Jehovah's Witness convention. And they're all going to bring up the news media is going to bring up the government cut the funding off of Jehovah's Witnesses. So that's going to be something. I wonder how the witnesses are going to react to this. Is it going to be persecution? I mean, will the Watchtower bend the rules here? This is it's going to be very fascinating to see what the witnesses are going to do about this. So maybe at the international convention coming up, that maybe they'll change some of their ruling. I think what they're going to do with homosexuality, and I think they've already been doing this. But we had Johnny the Bethelite used to call into the program here, and of course he hasn't called in for a few years now. But one of his last programs he called in on, he said that there was a lot of homosexual people in Brooklyn, Bethel, and at the time it would have been it would have been Warwick. He said there was a lot of homosexuals there, and he mentioned that the Watchtower kind of goes along with them if they're non-practicing homosexuals. So that's the first time I heard the term non-practicing homosexual. I mean, can you be a homosexual and not practice? I'm not really sure how I'd link that all together. But I mean, maybe the witnesses were starting to look at least in a different angle at the homosexuals. And maybe they will come out now, and if they want to get that money from Sweden, they could say, look at Swedish government. We now say it's a personal preference. It's up to their conscience. And this is how I think they're going to get away with a lot of changes in the future. It's going to be a conscientious matter. And what the Watchtower does too, sometimes they don't come out and explicitly say something. But friends, I've said it a million times here on the 6 screens. I'm going to tell you how high control groups think. So what they do, they will tell you before they tell you. So here we are, a couple of years ago, hearing about non-practicing homosexuals, kind of letting the cat out of the bag, so to speak. So they're talking about non-practicing homosexuals. Now it's possible they might switch it up a little bit. Now they're going to tell you while they're telling you, oh yeah, non-practicing, it's a personal choice. They add a little more color to it. And then what a high control group does is they tell you before they tell you. They tell you while they're telling you, and then they tell you after they told you. If you can follow that line of reasoning, I think the Watchtower is right in the middle right now. I think they're going to, because I'll tell you what, they cannot afford losing this money and building this giant Ramapo movie studio. I mean, they're going to lose right off the bat here. If Europe says, look, we're not going to go along with the Jehovah's Witnesses. Norway's not doing it. Sweden's not doing it. It looks like France is not going to do it as well. They're not going to cut the money off. And if they get all that money cut off, I talked to one high official one time in the Watchtower. They're not there anymore. I can't give their name, but they told me this could be hundreds of millions, hundreds of millions. I'm not talking about chump change here. We're talking hundreds of millions of dollars the Watchtower could lose. So, on one thing, if they could just, I'm sure the think tank at Bethel is working overtime. They're going to try to come up with some type of an explanation to tell the Swedish government, oh, we don't discriminate against homosexuals. We don't really shun the people. They tried the shunning with Norway, right? But they're gonna they're in the think tank. I wouldn't even doubt if they're doing 24 hours a day trying to come up. We need an answer. We need an answer for these governments because we're going to lose hundreds of millions. Yeah, maybe the Watchtower can take and lose $1 million here or there, but you can't lose hundreds of millions. It's going to create a real problem. So, and yes,
Hey, Rick.
yes,
Hey, Rick, how's it going? Can you hear me, Rick?
I can hear you. Yes.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I've called before, Rick. My name's Mark. I'm calling from San Antonio. I'm just listening to your program. I just wanted to say, you were talking about them trying to make it a matter of conscience that they're homosexuals. Well, I'm thinking, Rick, it's probably going to be the same BS. Like maybe you get a conscience or a personal choice when you go out and you vote, or when you go out and you want to join the military. I mean, even though a person can choose it, there's some serious consequences or ramifications behind it. Like if you're Jehovah's Witness, you can go out and vote, but you know what happens if the elders find out? What happens, Rick?
Well, you know what happens. Now, listen, Mark, you're a smart guy. I mean, see, you got out of the witnesses and you got very smart. You know how they work. But the people in the organization, loyal witnesses, they can't see through that, Mark. They don't see the reasoning for what you just said. They don't.
Yeah, I've called the program before, Rick, and I was a fourth generation witness. It was my great grandparents that first came into the organization. I got family that were in Bethel. I got an uncle. He's passed away, but an uncle that was a circuit overseer and a graduate of Gilead. So the Watchtower runs strong in my family. But of course, I want nothing to do with that crazy organization. But when you think of it, that's how sneaky they are. And what I'm thinking, maybe in the future, they might just replace disfellowship with disassociation, because really, Rick, what is disassociation? It's basically removing people from the congregation, the organization, and the Watchtower doing that, and at the same time legally protecting themselves so they don't get sued. Ain't that right, Rick, or what do you think?
Oh yeah, no. In fact, I mean, disassociation and disfellowshipping is tantamount to the same. It is. It's now, of course, they don't even use the term disfellowship any longer. They're now.
Yeah, I noticed that sleazy Watchtower.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Rick.
Yeah, they're calling it removed. They're calling it you're being removed, and they did that in view of what's going on in Norway. Now, if I said to you, you are being disfellowshipped, or if I said to you, Mark, you are being removed, removed has a little lighter feeling to it, huh? Yeah, same thing, but
removed is a very broad statement, Rick.
Right. Absolutely. Well, hey, you're a smart guy, really. I mean, see, when you get out of the witnesses, we all become smart. Boy, I'll tell you, our minds were so controlled, so boggled down with their crazy policies and doctrine, you couldn't even think straight. But you get out of the witnesses, and all of a sudden, you can start thinking again,
That's the beauty point of being out of the Watchtower, the witnesses, Rick. You actually get to know yourself. You get to know who you are as a person. That's what I love the most about being out of the witnesses, Rick, is I get to know who I am. Who is Mark really? Who is he inside? Not this BS you personality. It's the you personality, Rick. That's what I've come to love. It gets so much self-confidence and self-respect since being out of the witnesses, because you can't think for yourself as a witness, Rick. I mean, am I right or wrong?
Oh, you're 100% right, Mark. And I mean, even today, it was a Saturday. You got up down there in Texas. You didn't have to run out in service. Didn't you feel good today, Mark?
Man, I remember back when I was my childhood, Rick, my parents would dress me up. I wanted to watch cartoons. No, sir, Mark, you get ready. We're going out field service. We're going to outdoors. You're going to present magazines, boy. And my father's still an elder to this day, and my older brother, he lives in East Texas. He's an elder and a regular pioneer. My younger brother, he's an MS, so I'm pretty much in a odd situation, Rick, but still, I want nothing to do with the Watchtower.
Well, Mark, you're flapping your wings. You're a free man. The chains have been broken. I can see it. I can hear it in your voice. You got such a you got such a desire and such a way of thinking that's showing me that you are a happy man being out of there. Really?
Yeah. Yeah, I truly am. I'm really glad to be out of it, Rick. I listen to your program every Saturday, Rick, and I really do like listening to this. So that there's a group of people I can speak to because I've been, for about 35 years of my life, I was in the Watchtower, and I'm glad to be out of that, Rick. It's really awesome.
Well, good for you, Mark. Well, I'm always glad to hear from you. You add a lot of enthusiasm to the whole program here. Thank you for calling in, Mark. I really mean that. Thank you.
I want to say something you said earlier, Rick.
Sure.
It's kind of funny. You mentioned non-practicing homosexual. What is that? How is that even possible? Like non-practicing murder or non-practicing bank robber? What is that, Rick?
Well,
ridiculous.
Yeah, I've never found a real definition for that.
Celibate. That's called being celibate. You can be a non-practicing heterosexual too. It's called celibacy. And it happens in monasteries. And what's really sad is if, these people have been downtrodden in their own little ghetto neighborhoods, kicked out of their family because of who they wanted to love. And men don't commit easily anyway. For goodness sake, if two men want to commit to a life together, let them. It hurts no one.
And if you're going to be celibate, then what's the point of being homosexual if you can't be with people, the particular sex that you love? What's the point of it? You might as well just be a celibate man, not a homosexual man.
You'll be a celibate man, and you can think as you wish. The PhD test is if you had to be pushed off a building, would it be Julia Roberts or Richard Gere? Or
there you
go off a building. And so which would you choose, Richard Gere or Julia Roberts? Some people say both. Some people say one. So we all have our own thoughts. So we're entitled to our own thoughts, whether the Watchtower wants to admit it or not. But they got all these celibate men up there. My goodness sake, if they want to be roommates for the rest of their life in Bethel, let them.
Well, Pixie, yeah. In fact, just before I get to another caller, I just wanted to clarify something Pixie said. But Mark came up with a good idea, not an idea, but a thought. He said, well, a non-practicing murderer, a non-practicing thief. Now, when you say you can be a non-practicing, when you say you can be a non-practicing heterosexual, I can almost get I can get that, but it's very hard for me to wrap my head around a non-practicing homosexual. I mean, are they still a homosexual or not?
Sounds ridiculous.
What do you think?
Rick, I would just say that that's a desire they have within them.
Thinking about Richard Gere and not Julia Roberts. So even if they're celibate, they're going to picture Richard Gere and not Julia Roberts.
All right,
That's the PhD test, and then some people would picture both, and some people would picture the opposite sex. So that's what the shrink would have asked them.
Oh, that's from a psychological.
Well, why should anybody have to be celibate? Let people marry who they want. The state thinks it's a good idea because it doesn't spread disease. It doesn't push people into their own little ghetto where they've been for thousands of years. Let people do what they want to do.
No. You can go in or out.
I'm sorry, I didn't quite get that, sir. Is that who's that? All right. Did someone want to speak up?
Oh, sorry, Rick.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Did you want to speak up? Go ahead.
You were talking about Sweden.
Yes.
And it's very much a three-pronged attack.
Yeah.
The issues they had, you probably talked about it earlier. I missed a couple minutes, but disfellowshipping, homosexuality, and how they treat young people in judicial committees.
Yes.
Like some people have called in before where they're pinned up against the wall. Somebody's choking them to get the info out of them. And to a regular person that doesn't understand that, that is beyond the pale. That's very unacceptable.
Well, yes, as a matter of fact, that's exactly how Sweden is looking at this, and this.
Well, if you look at all cults, like how they are, is they think they own you, so they don't really understand individual rights the way that a government would or regular people would.
Well, the Watchtower. I mean, they're the king of not the watch. Go ahead, you're breaking up. All right. Well, I was gonna say.
I was just saying, Ray, that's kind of like the Watchtower, one size fits all, no?
Yeah, it is. It is. But what I was just thinking there is the governing body. They have lost they've lost their feelings of what even human rights are. The governing body does not understand that. It is so clearly seen in the Watchtower, the way they treat people, the way they talk to people. They talk down to everybody. If a person is just a regular Jehovah's Witness, yeah. Go ahead.
I once read this on Reddit, Rick. Like when you get baptized, you give up your human rights. I mean, that's so true.
Yeah. Well, it's crazy. Well, anyways, I mean, I hope more countries follow suit, Mark. I really, really do. That would be a great
Me
thing.
too, Ray. Me too.
Yeah. So.
And if you're talking, Sweden is a small country and it's like $3 million, but the Watchtower backed themselves into a corner. They can't revoke all three of those things that they practice to make good with Sweden.
Well, I'm sure
they might be able to minimize two of those things, but I can't see them. I can't see them doing all of them.
Well, I'm sure that they're thinking of how to do it. I mean, you would be, if you're going to lose that kind of money, you'd be trying to come up with some idea, some defense, whether it's going to be a tricky word they're going to use in place of, we don't discriminate. They're going to have to come up with something or they're going to lose money, but it's not just there. Like you say, only 3 million there perhaps, but what about the other countries? It could be hundreds of millions.
And also, Rick, my uncle used to say context is king, which he's saying you got to understand things and the time they were at and the environment they're in. Sweden is Christianity is not like a huge thing there. So if you have like some bastardized version of Christianity, they're not going to be favorable to it.
Yeah, it's a very liberal country. It's a very liberal country. And I'm sure that, like you say, I don't never studied it as far as what religions are really there. But I'm sure a lot of people in Sweden really might not even be paying attention to this. But we had a caller call in. In fact, she comes in from Sweden, and she might even be on with us now. I'm not sure. But she says, she hears rumble.
She's from Sweden.
Yeah, that's right. You got it. Yeah, she calls in, and but she says, the government, the people really aren't making a big hoop-de-la about all of this. I mean, we are here because of, the Watchtower is not this big, giant religion either. I mean, as I said last week, it's just a pimple on a rhino's back, really. But we get overly excited when we hear this type stuff. But I mean, Watchtower is a money-making machine. And in all endeavors, whether it's in the business world, even in the world of religion, politics, money is the ruling thing that's used to keep these people afloat. And they got to keep the money coming in. And I mean, with these lawsuits, with the Ramapo project, with them now losing money from some of these countries, geez, I'll tell you, the chief financial officer of the Watchtower is going to sit down and say, wait a minute, we better change something and do it pretty quick. So let's see what happens.
Now, one more thing, Rick.
Yeah.
You talked about you wanted to have like a Halloween themed episode.
Yeah.
Even though we're a day late.
Oh yeah.
You know, the theme of being undead, being like a zombie where you're animated, your limbs are moving, but you're not really a living being who understands things from a living perspective.
Right.
Doesn't that describe the witnesses?
Oh yeah, there's like a zombie trans-like state. Yes. Yeah, it does. And we can see that. You couldn't.
Rick.
Yes.
I don't know if you guys, once you get to this point later on in the show, Rick, I don't know if you're gonna allow any calls to tell them, but it's just like a little Halloween thing. If any callers, or I have one, but anybody has any interesting, I'm gonna say like ghost stories within the Watchtower that they like to tell, let me know when you get to that point, Rick, because I have one I like to tell whenever, or if ever you're gonna have a part of that in this program this evening.
Oh yeah, no. In fact, that's going to come up a little later on. But I'll tell you what, we're going to have prizes. I want to hear the best demon stories, ghost stories, if you like. We want to hear that. So that's coming up. I'm going to have a good time doing that. So that's coming up. Going to talk about some Halloween things and what goes on in Halloween, the witness world. So that's coming up just probably about a half hour from now, really. So we're looking forward to that. Yep.
Yeah, I got a story to tell, but we'll get to that part.
Yeah. Wait to that part and we'll get to it, Mark. Yeah, that's good. Well, thank you. Make sure you call in because you might be able to win a prize, All right.
Oh, cool. Sure.
All right. Do that. All right. Let's see what else we got. Let's see what else is going on behind the curtains of the Watchtower. Well, let's take a look over here if I can find it. Now, we just talked about finances and how the Watchtower is a money mongering organization, but I got some information that came into me this week that I found rather fascinating. And it has to do with, well, the person who gave me the information was saying to me that in his Kingdom Hall, that there's no funds, and how difficult it was for the Kingdom Hall to meet their expenses. And the topic came up in the Kingdom Hall in a local needs talk. That's where they bring something up like this. And the talk started off, he said, is pretty normal until the brother who was speaking said that the Kingdom Hall's finances were going from bad to worse, with a deficit in all the accounts for over 3 months. So they were in the deficit. Remember when we would go to the Kingdom Hall and they'd tell you what's going on with the money and all of that? Well, this particular congregation's been in a deficit for 3 months. So the brother giving the talk, he's getting all upset now. He's blaming the congregation. And this really became something that would be quite inflammatory being taken place in the Kingdom Hall with the brother asking for this money. He started saying, the brother asking for the money, saying that this was a sign of spiritual weakness in the congregation. So how would you feel if, you were a person that you didn't make a lot of money, geez, you're having a hard enough time the way inflation is, you're trying to buy meat and groceries and keep your car on the road, put tires on your car, and you got this elder up there going nutso, saying that spiritual weakness is in this congregation, and you haven't been able to give much money, so now all of a sudden you feel conscientiously guilty, right? You're saying, geez, I'm having a hard enough time buying milk for the baby and buying the dress for my wife. I can't afford to give the Watchtower money, the congregation even. So the brother's all upset. And then he even says, and this is what really got this man concerned, and it's got me concerned too. He says, even if you're not doing good in the congregation, you're not doing good in the secular world and you're not making much money, you should really think about this. Bring it up in your family study on how you can bring more money to the Kingdom Hall. So, I mean, really, when you stop and think about that's pretty disgusting. That's pretty disgusting that would be asked from the platform of a Kingdom Hall. I mean, really, this organization claims to be free for everyone. Free for everyone. That's a huge contradiction. They want people to pay and pay through the nose, even if you don't have the money. I mean, how much longer can this organization go on? I mean, how would you feel sitting in that Kingdom Hall And you're hearing this brother go off on a rampage about, give more, bring it up, talk to your family about it. How can we give more to the Kingdom Hall? This is absolutely nuts what the Watchtower is doing. I wanted to bring that up. And that's not the only congregation. There's plenty of people right now, Jehovah's Witnesses, that are living in with each other. They can't afford departments. They can't afford to have a house. Many can't even afford to have a car. Many witnesses are sleeping in their car. Many witnesses are sleeping in tents in the woods. So seriously, these are the type of things that, I get people that write to me and tell me all of these stories of how difficult it is for many witnesses. Now, not all witnesses. Some Jehovah's Witnesses do pretty well financially, but a good many Jehovah's Witnesses are poor. And what are they going to do? What can you do as you see prices going up, the high cost of housing, and just to have a car today? It costs you a lot of money to have a car, and you got many witnesses that just can't carry that load anymore. How can they support Kingdom Halls and give money to the Watchtower? So that's another area we talk about. We talk about countries coming down and denying the funds for these charitable organizations in their country, like Sweden, as we just said. So you get the Watchtower losing money because of that, not getting the money from the countries. You get the Watchtower, spending money now, like upwards of $500 million on a movie studio in Ramapo, New York. Plus, you also have congregations here starting to go broke. And, people just don't have the money to give anymore. So what's, let me tell you, I mean, maybe I can just say it without even, going too much into it all. But this Watchtower is nothing but a business. You guys know that. How many times have we discussed it here on the Six Screens? It's a multi-billion dollar business. And money is the life force of any business. You got to make money. No money come in, no business. This is where the Watchtower is heading. Now, you say, well, Rick, the Watchtower's got plenty of money. Don't worry about that. I know that. They do. But I'll tell you what, they don't have the cash. They do not have the cash you think they have. I mean, I'm not their treasurer, but they have a lot of assets. That's what they're selling Kingdom Halls off for. Well, why do you think they're selling Kingdom Halls off? I mean, they're going to tell you that we're compressing or we're moving one congregation to another. That's part of the reason a lot of people aren't showing up anymore. But they kind of like it when people don't show up. Then they can give an excuse. We're going to sell the Kingdom Hall. They get the money. So, I mean, they're trying to get some of the money out of assets. And they got all these lawsuits, too. Put yourself, would you want to be the treasurer of the Watchtower right now? Really? Would you want to be involved with that? Oh, my goodness. You got to be pulling the hair out of your head. They're getting hit from all directions, but they deserve it. They really, really do deserve it. Now, if they were a loving organization, and I really saw that they really help people, like the Samaritan's Purse. Do you see Billy Graham's son on there with the Samaritan's Purse organization? They're in Jamaica right now. They're in Jamaica trying to help the poor people in Jamaica. What are the witnesses doing? Zero. So, these are things that it should get us all upset. What do you think? Are you upset?
Hello, Mr. Fern.
Yes, Ken.
Yeah, thanks for taking my call again. I've been listening with interest as much as I can here. Yeah, and cumulatively speaking here, and then I'll comment on this other last subject here. Years ago, the Watchtower Society and other churches could, pull the wool over a lot of people's eyes because the people were not as educated as they are now. As a matter of fact, but this day and age, with everything being exposed and out in the open, they can't get away with what they used to. So times are not what they used to be. And the same thing is with finances. They could go to the membership when they were broke or something like that and have some fundraising, and they could pay off their bills and everything like that. This day and age, the Watchtower Society is exposed, their fraud, abuse, and corruption, and so forth. So people are not going to be willing to dip down deep inside when they say they've got some hardship like they used to be. times have changed and times are not like they used to be. And I'm afraid that the Watchtower Society is just going to have to wake up and smell the coffee, that they're not going to be to get away with what they used to get away with.
Well, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right with that, Ken. And their days are numbered, like any bad thing. You know, criminals, they think, you know, they're going to get away with it the rest of their life, but eventually they get caught. It's the same thing here with the Watchtower. Their days now are numbered. They're being caught. They're being cornered. They're like a rat in the corner. It's now known worldwide how bad the Watchtower organization is. They have this very tarnished image, and everybody's knowing that. People are finding out about it. That the witnesses don't have that squeaky clean image that they used to have. That's gone. The Watchtower's hating to see it, but it's rapidly disappearing, Ken. Different organizations.
It's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when they're going to fall. And on February 4th, 2026, the hearing is coming up. The appeal is coming up in Norway, and they changed the laws over there now to define psychological abuse, made that against the law over there. And so I think that when they get to the appeals court, the Watchtower Society is going to lose it totally. So it's not a matter of if and when. It's just a matter of time right now that they're going to be going, they're going to be going belly up. And here's another thing too. They're trying to make a bunch of changes right now to appease the people. I think it's far too late. I got a question. Why didn't they make those changes a long time ago? Why did they get so oppressive and repressive? Why didn't they not get that way? And why did they not, reach out to the people and their concern and compassion for the people, rather than just be making rules and regulations and make it in their police state? It's far too late now because the damage has been done, and I don't think the people are going to go. I don't think the people are going to go back.
Oh, Ken, that's a gold star narrative that you just gave. And the reason why, what you said is, why are they making the changes now? Why didn't they make them then? So my feelings are, I'm sure people listening to this program, they're doing it now because they see the hemorrhage. They see that they have done something through their policies and procedures that have driven a lot of people away from this organization. Now, we don't see the numbers in the millions or the hundreds of thousands, but there's millions that are just going through the motions being one of Jehovah's Witnesses. Of course, we call them the PMOs, physically and mentally out acronym. So we see that, the Watchtower knows this. Now, they might not see all the people walking out of the Kingdom Hall all at once, but it could get to that. There could be, we always talked about this mass exodus, and it could be, there's one thing that I found out about the human race, and I think that everybody out there will kind of agree with me. We'll all take something up to a certain point, right? Before we explode. We will all of us, we're all the same, right? We all get up in the morning, as the old saying goes, we all put our pants on, slick our hair back for the most part, and walk out. So we all as humans some of us will take a little more than others, but at some point you get really ticked off. That's what's going on. We got all these PMOs right now. At some point, they're all going to walk out of the Kingdom Hall. That could be millions in a year. And it's been estimated, we've done surveys here on the 6 screens, it's been estimated that there's 4 million PMOs. Yes, that's a lot of people.
In Virginia,
it's a big difference from 250,000 or whatever it was in the 20s and 30s and then in the 70s and so forth. So, yeah, I'm like that. I just want to make a final comment. I'm like that, too. I will put up with stuff to only a certain extent. The same thing with the churches I was with. They got out of line. I put up with it only so long, and then I said, that's it, goodbye, and I didn't look back.
Yep.
Okay, well, thank you for taking my call. We'll take this next caller in here, and I'll keep listening.
Thank you, Ken. Go ahead, Pixie.
I was just going to say that in Virginia, they're going to give food stamps from the state coffers. And the governor said, thank the Lord, because Virginia knows what hunger's about from their early history, back in 16 whatever. But in some of these other states, a lot of the witnesses don't have big incomes. If the Kingdom Halls can't come forth with a food bank, they might go down the street to get their food to feed their family. They might change churches to feed their family.
Well, when push comes to shove, Pixie, people will say that's it. Really? I mean, are they trying to get even that congregation that they got the information from? With I guess it was the elder got up there for the platform saying, even if you can't afford to give us money, do it. Even if you can't afford to do it, what if you can't? I mean, you can't.
Nobody can afford anything now, and shops are closing, and Starbucks are closing. And the thing is that people aren't seeing, in retirement, I've got time to look at stuff like I did when I worked in the newsroom and was paid. These jobs aren't coming back. That's what people can't see. They're hungry. They need the food banks, but they're also not seeing that next year and the year after that, unless you're the town plumber, God bless you, these jobs aren't coming back. And the list of careers that are going to be outsourced to electronic technology is amazing.
Well, it is amazing, Pixie. No,
people aren't realizing that the jobs aren't going to be there for the newly let go people.
Well, we're in a period right now, and I see it. I see it. I call it a schizophrenic economy. It's going
to be the techno-feudalism, and in feudalism we had rich people and serfs.
Well, it's basically coming to that right now. It really is.
That's what they're calling it.
Yeah, because I up here, for example, I mean, I'll tell you right now. I mean, people know I'm in the sign business, and there's a restaurant that called me this week. They want to get some signs made. This restaurant is so packed, it's hard to even get a parking spot. And I remember when they first started out about 15 years ago, but their business is like unbelievable. And if you go in there, it's going to cost you $50, $60 for an Italian dish of some type. Now that means if a husband and wife goes in there, there's $100 right there. Plus, if you have a little wine, a little beer, geez, you could go out there between the tip and everything. You could be looking at dessert. You could be looking at $150, and the people are spending it like nothing. And then I go by other restaurants, the same thing. But on the other hand, I go down to the city next to me here in Lowell, Massachusetts, and I see people sleeping on the sidewalk. I see people living in encampments in the woods. It's unreal. So you have two societies, very schizophrenic economy. You have an economy that many people seem to be doing pretty doggone good, unless they're all doing it on credit. I'm not sure. And then on the other hand, you get so many people falling through the cracks. But what I'm really seeing here is the Watchtower organization is going to be affected by this. There's a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses that you were never able to really flap their wings and get the career that they wanted to because they were held back by the Watchtower. So these guys are really, really hurting. And it's really, really sad that so many people, even listening to this program tonight, that have, they held back from getting education. Some people even probably held back from having children, held back from buying a house. And now they're saying, and now the Watchtower, the November study edition of the Watchtower is saying that, maybe some of you were disappointed. I mean, of course, many of us would be disappointed. I'm disappointed. I'm serious. I mean, it's just disgusting how they would handle that. Tell people for years, new systems right around the corner. And now they're saying that, Well, some people will be disappointed, but be patient. Jehovah's a patient God. Be like him,
They betrayed us. They betrayed us. They
Well-
lied to us.
Well, we had, when we first announced that a couple of months ago about this November Watchtower study article saying that be patient. And they're saying now the new system is not going to, don't be surprised if it doesn't come in your lifetime.
Your lifetime. Yeah, well, they finally said something accurate. It's not coming.
Yeah. So we had one man, he's probably listening in, poor Zach. He listens in, he comes in near the end of our programs usually. And he was so upset. He called in. He says, Rick, they're actually saying that. He was so disappointed. He went to Bethel, but he went on. He left Bethel, and he does pretty good from what I understand. He's a pretty knowledgeable man, but he's so glad he left the Watchtower. But some of his friends stayed in there, and really, in fact, even I'll tell you what. There's a couple that I know. I believe they're still there. But they were working, I won't say in what department because they don't want anyone to find out, but they're PMOs right there at the world headquarters. They're working a pretty high position, but what are they going to do? They've been there for, I believe it was 40 years, 50 years. And, what do you do? Now you're 70 years old. You went there when you were 20. Now, what do you do? Where are you going to go? You're not going to tell the Watcher, I don't want you anymore. I can't stand it. Oh, my goodness. Then you have nowhere to go. What a predicament.
And the thing is, the leadership doesn't care, because if they go back to Indiana or whatever, that congregation doesn't know them.
Right. It's different than it was back then.
They've been gone too long.
Yes.
Hi, Rick.
Yes.
This is Sharon. I used to be in North Carolina.
Oh, yes, Sharon. Yes.
Now I'm in Virginia.
Good to hear from you, Sharon. Yes.
Well, I was just thinking, as all these, little conversations were coming up. First off, it seems like the Watchtower is reaping what it sowed. It told everybody not to be materialistic, just, work to make ends meet. And now all they have is assets and no cash. And now with this announcement about, you're going to be disappointed, this may not come in your lifetime. How many of those people that were sitting there said, oh, wow, maybe now I better start putting money aside for myself, because Armageddon may not come when they said it would.
Sharon, a lot of people are doing that right now. They're scrambling around. And a lot of people, they're still witnesses, but they don't really want to leave because they know what will happen. But they're saying, "Fooey on you, Watchtower. I'm just going to go out and do what I can. I need the money. I need the money." Yeah.
Right. But they're the ones that originally told everybody you didn't need an education. And now the people that they want to give them extra money, they don't have it because they didn't go and get the education that would help. It's like they're reaping what they sowed, and it's good for them.
Oh yeah, in fact,
it was just like when Trump went in office the first time. They went out and they said that they were having a food bank and they were getting food from the food bank and turning around and saying it was from Jehovah God.
Exactly.
My wife got two things of that, and I looked in the bottom of the box. It said U.S. government, and it was coming from the farmers. And how can you say something totally different to your congregations, and the paperwork is at the bottom of all the food? It just didn't make no sense to me.
Well, you caught them in a lie. You caught them in a lie, David. You caught the Watchtower in a lie. Now they say they don't lie, but I mean they lied right there. And
I showed my wife, and I showed all of her brothers and sisters. They went and got boxes of food and everything. And I'm like, what are you trying to hide? And then the brothers all said it came from Jehovah God. And I was like, "You've got to be kidding me!"
They told me the same thing, David. That chicken sure was good, and that mozzarella cheese in that box sure was good. First 3 boxes, I got a complete box. It was signed by Trump. It said "Farmers to Table," and then the 4th box I got was half. I gave you half a box.
Yep. And I watched 3 of the elders, and I know them all. They went down there with their pickup trucks, and they filled those trucks up. And they came back to the Kingdom Hall and give them all the food on a Saturday morning. And that's no joke. I about flipped out. My wife brought 3 boxes home. And when Trump came in office. So, and then I showed my wife. My wife said, no, that came from Jehovah. I said, how can it come from Jehovah? He's not real. And just made her angry and frustrated. I showed her the paperwork. I said, how can they lie like this? And she just gave me that stunned eyeball look, every witness does,
Right.
I'll let you go.
All right, thank you, David.
Hello.
Yes, go ahead. You're on with us. Go ahead.
Rick, this is Jesse, in Yuma, Arizona.
Well, hello, Jesse.
Hey, Rick, me and Gilbert, we did a video this week, and we don't have any data. But we used artificial intelligence numbers to try to get an idea what the population of publishers is. And it came back with about a 1.4, I believe it was like 1.4 million Jehovah's Witnesses in the United States, publishers. And so I don't have no real data. Your listeners probably have better information than I do. But let's say that was just a ballpark guess. That's a guess. I don't have no evidence of it. But in my town, and the way I see my community, in my little town area of the country, I feel the Jehovah's Witness numbers are increasing. I share the same sentiment that all your listeners do. I believe they're going down. I want them to go down. But I see in actual numbers, and I don't have real data, but just what my eyes tell me, is that I feel like they are growing in numbers. There are a lot of holdovers, especially in my town. I don't know about the rest of the country because I hear so many thoughts about people leaving. But in my neck of the woods, I see them all staying. I mean, they're all going to go down with the ship.
Well, I have an idea what might be going on. Now, you live in Yuma, Arizona. How far is that from the Mexican border?
On the California side, we're about 5 minutes. And on the Arizona side, we're about 20 minutes.
All right. So you have I'm sure you have a lot of immigrants, right?
Yes. It's probably about 60 to 70% Mexican American, and then the rest black and white.
So those that's probably why they look like they're growing because of that. Yeah. They're not growing up here in the Northeast. I mean, they're shutting Kingdom Halls down. So it's probably the influx because, I mean, let's put it this way, Jesse, these people coming into the country from other countries, they're going to be attracted to anyone that shows them kindness and consideration and love bombing them. So they're going to land up in the Kingdom Hall. So I would say that's what's going on down in Arizona. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very good, because I would agree with you. I would have, but you see, when you see these numbers, you get a little demoralized. I get a little demoralized because I say, man, what do we have to do? How many lies do they have to see? They just stick in through it. They're like bitter cleaners, and so I hear all the positive stuff the apostates are saying, but then in some towns, they're actually very strong.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
What happens, Jesse, in hard times, my dad was born in 1910, so he lived through the 7-year drought in the Midwest before he went to Washington, D.C. Left his whole family to do that at that time, right, before World War II. He told me that in really hard times, people will flock to the churches because community becomes more important, and a lot of the stores closed and a lot of the dance halls closed. We don't realize how bad it can get.
Right.
And this is only day one, and
yes,
we're already seeing people panicking and saying they'll rob a store or they'll rob someone in the parking lot. and people are talking to each other less. They're going to social events less. So in time, it could return to kind of an America with lots of church. And I'm not a great fan of church, but I see how it serves a social function, especially in hard times.
Yeah, I'm a fan of the churches. I just hate the Kingdom Hall. And but I agree with you, because I live across the street from many churches, the big Catholic church, and it's packed, like all congregations, like every hour at the 12, 11, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the different masses that they have. They're packed. And a couple of years ago, it wasn't like that.
Yeah. Well, hard times.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you. You guys have a good evening.
Well, thank you, Jesse. No, I wanted to say too, Jesse, that, down there, it might be because of the immigrants, but I'll tell you, up here, even when we grew with 6 screens like last summer, we're showing the conventions, even all around the country, all the empty seats. And then you also see these congregations with empty seats. So, but there are some areas up here where they're building what they call a super kingdom hall. Now, they're building one of those not too far from where I live. It's going to accommodate probably 4 or 5 congregations. So they're going to shut a bunch of congregations around and have that one super kingdom hall where they'll be able to have like little mini conventions too. So that's what's going on. So even though they'll cut one congregation down because there's not a lot of people coming, they'll send them to another congregation. They call that compressing. So the one congregation looks like it's really doing fantastic, when in essence it's 2 other congregations that are meeting with them now that weren't meeting before. So they're playing all kinds of games, Jesse. But don't let it get you down. The Watchtower's tanking. Don't you worry about that. Well, here on JW World News, that's the news the Watchtower doesn't want us talking about. Hey, pretty soon we're going to get into our Halloween party. But I want to bring something up here that it really got my attention from a Watchtower that I wanted to share with you guys, because I found it very fascinating the way the Watchtower words things. These guys are masters at wording, and you got to watch every word these guys say, because they can really misinform you. So I got a hold of this Watchtower. It would be November 2015. And what got me really thinking about bringing this up tonight is the way that the Watchtower uses language or the way they write to be misleading. So it says here, Watchtower used to, now this is right in the Watchtower, I'm reading from it. Watchtower used to label apostates as mentally diseased. Yeah, remember that? We were all called mentally diseased, and they accused us of spreading disloyal teachings. I remember this Watchtower. I want to go back to it because I now have a closer look at it. Now watch what they say here. We were called mentally diseased and accused us of spreading disloyal teachings. Notice the wording carefully. Disloyal teachings. It does not say false teachings or untrue teachings. You see how that works? This is exactly how the Watchtower has been working for years. Now we can go back and pick up the crumbs on the trail like Hansel and Gretel to find our way home. Because, see, they're not saying false teaching or untrue. They're saying disloyal to the Watchtower's teachings. Oh, these guys are sly. You got to watch them like a hawk. So I wanted to bring that up. What's that?
Watchtower loves to play the word semantics games, not just in the literature, but even when they're in court.
Yeah.
I love that. We got a candy-covered Kingdom Hall, but inside there's, they want chicken bones.
Yeah. Well, let's watch their wording. Well, listen, what we'll do here, let's go to hell. Let's talk a little about Halloween. Halloween was last night, but we can still talk about it. It's close enough. But I wanted to bring up some things. It was suggested we have some type of a party on here tonight, so we'll have a little bit, but we'll do that. I'm just going to put something up on the screen here to get into the holiday scene to some degree. So let's put this up right here. Come on. I don't know. Well, doesn't seem to want to be getting up on me. All right. Oh, all right. Well, anyways, let that go. I had some nice little pictures here about Halloween that I was supposed to be able to put up, but we'll let that go. It's not that great, anyways. But let's just talk. Let's just talk about some of the things that the Watchtower never talked about when it comes to Halloween. But and anyways, I wanted to show you that Halloween is a date that is a day that Jehovah's Witnesses really hate. I mean, even to the point we brought it up a while back, a few weeks ago. Even pumpkins. Some witnesses have this real distasteful look at pumpkins. But it's jack-o'-lanterns, really. It's not the pumpkin. But some of the witnesses hate it when they start to see the pumpkins because it reminds them of Halloween. And also, you wonder, what used to happen with witnesses on Halloween night? What did you do? I know what I did. I used to go out to a restaurant. I mean, I was really kind of a coward. I mean, I couldn't stand at the door and have little kids come up. Oh, hi, Mr. Farron. You have some candy for us? No, kid, I don't give candy on Halloween. I mean, what would you do? So in fact, Anne Marie was on earlier. She had a good little game she used to play. She used to put on her porch wet paint. So no one wants to go near wet paint with their costume on, right? So they wouldn't come. But well, I used to go out to a restaurant many times. As a matter of fact, it was like a Kingdom Hall ritual at one point. We'd all go out to a restaurant somewhere. Maybe you did that as well. But October 31st is really a very important day in the world of the Jehovah's Witnesses. They don't recognize it, but that's the day that Charles Taze Russell, the founder really of the Watchtower, that's the day that he died. And he died in Texas. And I believe it was 1917, I believe is when he died in Texas. And his desire was to be wrapped up in a sheet that resembled a Roman toga. So that was something that a lot of witnesses don't even remember that, but that's when he died. And it's kind of, where he had these occult connections, it's kind of ironic that he even died on Halloween. Was it planned? Some people think it could have been, but who knows? And then, something too that's going on a lot lately, right around Halloween time, and this is a known fact. Many Jehovah's Witnesses are having costume parties, a week or so earlier than Halloween. Now, what's that all about? See, this is what's going on. This shows me a lot of people really aren't believing what the Watchtower is teaching them. They're doing things on their own. So this is not the first I heard this. Last year too, I heard it. I didn't bring this up last year because it wasn't that noticeable. But right now it is. There's a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses having costume parties right around the time of Halloween. Now their excuse will be, well, that's when you can buy the costumes. Now some might even have that costume party after Halloween. They could say, well, we were having it because we get the costumes on sale. I mean, it's like they say the same thing with Thanksgiving, right? Well, the turkey was on sale, so that's why we had it on Thanksgiving. So the witnesses are coming up with all kinds of games too that they're playing. But I wanted to get into some of this. I wanted to ask a few questions, and I'm going to give some prizes out. If somebody tonight can answer at least 5, and you have to keep score, and just be very civil about this, okay? You have to keep score, but if someone can very civilly come in and answer, if you can answer 5 of the questions we ask here tonight, I got a very special prize for you. So if you answer 5 of the questions. So first of all, let's talk a little bit about Halloween here tonight. Can someone tell me what was the best Halloween candy? What was the most used candy for the 2025 Halloween? Who would like to take a guess at it? Or I'll just tell you, it was Reese's Pieces. Reese's Pieces was the most sought after candy for Halloween. Who would like to take a shot at what's second? Well, that was no, not Tootsie Roll Pops, but Sneakers. Sneakers, yeah, Snickers.
Rick, this is Zachary.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was when I went down in my lobby. They had a basket of candy, and I got the best candy I tasted in years. It was some kind of little packets of M&Ms with peanut butter taste,
Yeah.
and they were delicious.
Yeah. Well,
I
that's,
hope that's on your list.
well, that was,
Okay.
well, that was Reese's Pieces. Yes. Yep.
Hey, Rick.
Yeah.
I thought I'm disappointed in your poll because I was always told that the favorite candy was candy corn, and in fact, you can only get it around Halloween.
I would have thought of that too, but he just now said 2025. He was specific in the year 2025.
Yeah. In fact,
I think over the years, candy corn would win.
well,
Over the years, that's the most used one.
Yeah, I think so.
yeah. Let me. Well, on the subject of candy corn, that
I'll
was,
just give myself a point.
well,
I can't believe I'm arguing about candy.
but on the subject,
What are you doing,
okay.
Halloween?
Hey, listen, let's calm it down now. Let's go through this because it's hard for people to really hear it all if we all talk over each other. So here's what we got. So on the subject of candy corn, and Stefan, you kind of you might be able to answer this. There's a certain way that people eat that candy. There's now.
They bite off a little piece and then
By color.
they bite off a little.
All right. Okay. We can't all talk at the same time because it gets very disruptive for the audience. So let's go nice and slow. Everyone take their time. Now, which way, Stefan? Which way do you eat candy corn?
I eat candy corn with nuts. I don't eat it by itself because it's nothing but sugar. I always eat it with nuts.
All right. Well, there's a Nadine. Nadine, you came up with something. Tell the audience how you eat candy corn.
Well, you just bite off a little bit first because you can't eat it all at one time because it's so sweet. So you bite off the first little part and then you eat the rest.
Okay. So there's a.
Can I comment too?
Yeah. Let me just make a thought here. Now, what you have is you have white, you have orange, and then you have yellow. Now, if you're going to bite off a little,
You bite off the white part first.
well, that is, in fact, I'll tell you what, 53% of people who eat candy corn bite the white part off first. And then,
So I
what?
win, right?
So, and then I'm gonna. Well, you have to.
These are good.
Yeah.
I never got my turn.
All right. Well, it's not really. It's not like we're not playing the game tonight like we normally play it.
I was going to say you bite it off by the colors. You bite the white tip first, and then you bite the orange part. Then the yellow part you don't bite. You just stick it in your mouth.
All right. So what you?
'Cause you can't eat it. You can't eat it all at one time because it's so sugary sweet. So you have to go in steps.
All right. So what?
And I can't get over Stefan trying to be healthy with it.
Yeah. All right.
No, you gotta have the protein.
All right. Listen, guys. I'm gonna put everybody on mute because we can't go through with this like this. So everyone's gonna be muted. Okay.
All participants are muted and they can unmute themselves.
All right, I have to do that because what happens is it's just so disruptive and people don't want to listen in, whatever we're talking over each other. So we're having a problem too with the duck game with that. We're getting some comments about it that people have a hard time hearing. So let's just go on with the program and I'll give you the answers. So I'm sorry, I'm not going to give the points away tonight, but I would have, but we just can't go on like that. All right. So anyways, we talked about the candy corn. And then what we'll do is all right, how about the top trending costumes? The top trending costumes for this year. What would you think would be? Now, right now, I'll tell you what it would be. Right now, there's a very popular program on Netflix. It's called K-Pop Demon Hunters. It's really one of the biggest films ever produced. Netflix has already have over 3 million views. Sorry, 300 million views. 300 million views that have watched this. So all the people wanted to run out and get this K-pop Demon Hunter costumes, which they did. So that's the most popular costume this year for Halloween. And then classic costumes. I mean, actually one that more people wear. Now that Demon Hunter costume is the most popular, but the most popular one would be witch, vampire, pirate, cat, Batman. Batman costume is the top searched character costume on the internet. All right. All right. So what I'm going to do here is I will give points, another way for you guys to pick up a few points here, but we got to be civil about it. We got to be civil. We can't talk over each other because it just becomes just a garbly mess. Okay. So let's be very nice about it. Let's try to go nice and calm. What we want to do here is we're going to be talking about some of the demon stories. It's one of the most fascinating aspects of the Jehovah's Witness religion is their profound fear of demons, evil spirits. This is just something the Watchtower just loves to promote, I guess. And I was wondering whether the Watchtower uses this demon trick, so to speak, if it's used by the leadership of the Watchtower as a means of some type of control. I feel that could be the case. Or maybe it's just a concept that seemed to grow its own legs and take off in the organization, but people really have this fear of demons. In fact, even brothers and sisters, they often tell stories about demons attacking witnesses that left the organization. And that's what they feel about us apostates. They feel that we're outside of the realm of Jehovah's protection and that we're now being attacked by the demons. Well, that's what they tell the witnesses, right? Demons' stories are big. Telling demon stories is one of the favorite pastimes of Jehovah's Witnesses at their social gatherings. It's talking about demons. In fact, you've heard some of the stories. In fact, I'm sure they're urban myths, many of them. But one sister exclaimed that a demon once grabbed her while she was in the kitchen cooking dinner and had spun her around in circles. You know, you hear these crazy stories. And another one was one sister said that she had a beautiful sofa in her living room that another sister gave her. But she said the sofa was demonized. And everyone who sat on that sofa developed an impulsive urge to kill someone. You heard all of these stories. They're urban myths for the most part, but the witnesses would spread them around. And you've all heard them, so I'm going to...
I have a demon story.
Okay. All right. Here's what we're going to do. So we're going to go nice and slow. We're going to talk about your demon story. Who is this? Is this Hubert? Gilbert?
Yeah, this.
All right.
Hey,
So,
Rick. Honest to God, I was in high school, so that'll put me in the mid '80s, right?
yeah.
And Jesse and I, we hardly ever would go out in service together. But every time it seems that we went out in service together, there was always like a demon story. But the one that happened to me is, I remember it vividly. I knocked on the door, and then I looked at my hand, and it looked like a tiger had or a cat had ripped my arm, right? Like a scratch. It was a really ugly, like a cat scratch, but it wasn't hurting, but it was like really nasty looking. And so then I forget who I was with, but it was a young kid. And then I said, okay, let's go. And so I turned around and I walked out. And then Jesse's waiting for me on the street. I go, hey, Jesse, let me show you something. And I showed him my he was just looking at it. I go, yeah, there's a demon in there. And as we were walking away, the scratch was disappearing, like little by little by little. And I knew then I was in high school, and I told Jesse, remember the story of Elisha when his servant is all scared, and he told him, why are you scared? And then he told him, he asked God for the servants to open up his eyes and see that there were more. There's more than are with us than are against us. And I always knew early on that the demons are afraid of you. We have no reason to be afraid of the dark side. They're afraid of us. But we never taunt them. I never taunted them. I never said, but I knew something bad was in that home, so I just walked away. And Jesse and I, we had about 2 or 3 other experiences where we have some crazy demon stuff. But I never told it to I never said it in an assembly or to try to, but I am a believer that there's a lot of Christians that know that God is one step ahead of you. You see it all the time. And there's a lot of other examples, and people tell me, Gilbert, this happens to me. And it's just, they get a feeling that somebody is looking out for them, kind of like a guardian angel story.
Yeah, well, no doubt. Everyone's got a story to tell about demons. If you're one of Jehovah's Witnesses, so what we're going to do, Gilbert, we get your story first, and then we'll do a little vote at the end of the stories. But no one. I mean, we want to hear all the stories, but we'll trust. So we're going to call you number 1, Gilbert's story of the demons with the scratch like a cat or a tiger, and then we're gonna, and then the one that gets the best story is going to we're going to give them 2 points. Okay.
Hey, Rick.
Hold on.
Can I just say something? This is Jesse.
Yeah, Jess.
Real quick, I'll just 1 minute. I was on service with Gilbert. I was probably 14. Gilbert was probably 12 or 11. And my little brother, I don't ever remember him being afraid of anything when we were kids. I was more superstitious. And he went up to the door that day. I remember it vividly because they never put us out in service together. They always separated us all our childhood. But every time we went out in service together, something bad would happen. I mean, we would get a feeling. And this time, I told Gilbert, go, you knock on the door, you talk. And he knocked on the door. Mind you, he was a little kid. He was probably 11 or 12 years old. And I was about 14 or 15. And he knocks on the door and he backs up. And he goes, let's go, Jesse. And I go, what are you talking about? Let's go. Somebody scratched me. And I go, what? Somebody scratched me. And I go, what? Nobody opened the door. No, through the door, a hand reached out and scratched me. And he showed me his hand, and he had a visible scratch mark, like a little bit of blood. It scared the hell out of me. It's a true story. If I wasn't there, I wouldn't believe it.
Yeah.
And so I just want to corroborate that Gilbert's telling you the truth.
Well, no, I know he's telling me the truth. Gilbert's a straight-laced guy, I'll tell you. Well, thank you. That's a good story. That's a good demon story. Who'd like to tell their demon story? Yeah, go ahead.
Hello?
Yeah, who's this?
Hey, Rick, it's Mark again from Texas.
All right, Mark, let's hear your story because, you could win a prize here, okay? So let's hear it.
Yeah, sure. This story was actually told to me by a friend of mine that he was a Bethelite and he's no longer in the truth, but that's another story there. But here's how the story goes that my friend told me. The story goes, this happened somewhere down in South Texas along the Mexico border, Rick. Are you there, Rick? Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yep.
Okay. Yeah, this happened somewhere around there, Rick. That my friend told me the story of a group that went on field service, maybe in the mid-morning, and the brother in charge of the group, he put 2 sisters in charge of working the street, and he showed them the street that he had a territory card, showed them the street they're going to work, and he showed them the back of the card. He said, write that address down. That's do not call, do not go to that house. And he went ahead to satisfy their curiosity. He told the sisters why. Because Francis said that a witch lived at that house, a demon worshiping witch. So skip that house. Don't call on that house when you're out. So they go on service. The sisters go in the territory, and they come up to that address, and of course they think the brother's just being ridiculous. So they go and they knock on the door. They knock on the door, and there's a little old lady. She opens the door. And the sisters start their presentation, telling them who they are. And the little old ladies go, you're Jehovah's Witnesses. Oh, please, come in. So the sisters walk in, they go in the house, and they know there are all kinds of idols and weird images all over the house. But they have her sit on the couch, and thinking that they're going to start a study. The old lady tells them, the householder, just wait here. I'll be right back. So she walks out, goes in the back room. Sisters are sitting there on the couch. They're just talking to each other, talking like nothing happens. Just they're looking at each other, and then as they're talking, they try to look out, and all of a sudden, everything is gone. Like my friend told me, like, have you ever seen the movie The Matrix? You see the part of the movie where Neo and Morpheus, they go in the program, there's nothing but white everywhere, just in a white solid place. That's where the sisters were. Everything disappeared. Nothing of them on the couch, and everything around them is white. And they were in shock, like, where everything, there's no door, there's nothing there, right? They're just in this white, solid white room. And then, of course, begin to pray to Jehovah, pray. Of course, there's nothing really he could do. So they start praying and praying, try to get out of here. And as they're praying, eventually they close their eyes, holding each other's hands, clutching each other, praying, get us out of here, our God. And then as they open their eyes, they see they're back in that same house where they were before. And needless to say, they grab their stuff and they hightail out of there, run out of the house as quickly. And as they're running out of the house, they see that the sun is setting and it's getting to be dark. And there's a car behind them. It's a brother that was in charge of the group. He honks at them, wanted to know where they were. They disappeared for 8 hours when they could have been sworn they were only there for a few minutes. And the brother said, you disappeared. We didn't know what had happened to you. I was getting ready to call the police. You said you disappeared. And they told the story and told him what happened. And the brother says, that's why you should have never gone to that house. That's what you get, and learn a lesson from that. And I guess Jehovah helped you. But anyway, that's what became of that, Rick. And it's different versions of the story, but that's my demon story for you there, Rick.
Well, that's a good demon story. I mean, geez, that sounds like something you could see on Twilight Zone. What I'm thinking there, Mark, is, there's paranormal stuff out there, and there are demons. And I mean, I'm a Christian man, so I understand there's occultism. And I'm just thinking that, those sisters could have entered another dimension. Like Rod Serling. Yeah, like Rod Serling used to say in the Twilight Zone, they went into a different dimension in time. Yeah, that was interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Well, thank you for that story. My goodness, Mike, I like that story. Yes, go ahead.
Hey, Rick, I have a story.
Go ahead, yeah. Who is this? First of all, tell us.
This is JP.
Oh, yes, JP. Yeah, let's hear your demon story, JP.
Yeah, there was this elder in our Kingdom Hall, and he had a prosthetic leg. And one time I was hanging out with a group. This was when I was like a teenager, but one time his daughter was telling us this story about her dad, and he got a new prosthetic leg, but to buy a brand new one is very expensive. And I think there's some medical places that sell used prosthetics. So she was saying that he bought a used prosthetic leg, and about 2 days after they brought it home, he took off his leg, and he said that they were sitting in the living room, the family, and she said that as soon as they started studying the Watchtower magazine, that the leg got up and started dancing around the living room. And she said that her dad had to catch, he was hopping around, and the family had to help him catch the prosthetic leg, and he was trying to read scriptures, trying to get it to stop, and it wasn't working. So she said that he had to throw it in the fireplace and burn it.
I'll tell you. Now, some of these stories, like the one that Mark just told, it has a could have happened. But this here is just over the top, JP, Yeah. Well, thank you for telling that story. So that's number 3. We've heard 3 stories on here so far. We heard from JP, Mark, and
I have one, Rick.
all right. So who's it, Stefan? Who is it, Stefan?
Yes, Stefan.
Okay, go ahead, Stefan. Let's hear your demon story. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. And I want to say this is 100% true. This is not a story. This happened to me personally. It's not something I heard. But I was with a friend. This was after field service, and we just decided to get some food. And he lives in a mixed neighborhood. It's African American and Hispanic, so they have a lot of taco shops and stuff. So we decided we're just going to walk to the taco shop. So we're walking. Beautiful summer day, 90s, beautiful, not a cloud in the sky, blue sky, warm. And we're just talking and laughing and walking down the street to go get something to eat. And as we approach this one house, we're in the sidewalk. The sidewalk's probably about, maybe 10 feet away from the house. And if you've ever watched a sci-fi movie like Star Trek or something where they have a tractor beam, and if a ship goes past, they project that tractor beam, and the tractor beam kind of starts sucking the ship towards the larger ship, and they can't get away, and they get captured. It was exactly like that. I felt like instantly, as I got in the shadow of that house, everything went monochromatic. It went cold. You could see your breath.
And then there was just this force that was just pulling me towards the house. I had never in my life experienced anything like this. I had to expend energy like I was walking up a steep mountain or a hill, to the point where when I finally got past that house, I just was exhausted. I doubled over, trying to catch my breath. As soon as I passed that house, it went back to being blue, sunny day, warm temperatures. But within that space of that house, this had happened. And I looked at this other brother, and he said, "Oh, did you feel that?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Everything got really cold." I said, "Yeah." He said, it was just all black and white and gray. And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "You felt like something was pulling you towards the house?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Yeah, that always happens to me when I pass that house." And I turned and I looked at the house, and it was one of these houses where they did the portrait, the globe in the window, the fortune telling, the tarot card reading, and all the rest of that. He says, "Yeah, every time I walk past that house, I have that same experience." Now, I'm the most skeptical person you will ever meet. I don't believe anything that was been proven to me, but that actually happened. That's my story. Thanks for
Well, Stefan, I don't deny that. Now that's something that can give a person chills, kind of like Mark was telling his story. This multidimensionalism that Rod Serling used to talk about, all paranormal type stuff. So that very well could have been what you experienced. Well, thank you for telling us that story, Stefan. So your story number 4. Who'd like to step into the ring? Anybody else got a yes? All right, King of Dots. You got a demon story for us?
To me?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, the person who introduced me to Jehovah's Witnesses, he was a warlock. He was my musical companion, as it were. So that's a coincidence right there. But the fact is, it happened a long time earlier. My manager at a place I worked at, he was into Aleister Crowley and all that crap. And he took my keys, telekinetics, and he told me, "You're going to have a problem with your brakes and your windshield wipers on your car." Now, barely 2 weeks later, a horrid thunderstorm. I was going down an S-curve road, and my windshield wipers went out, and then my brakes went out. There was nothing I could do. I managed the curves. I still drive that road maybe once a week. It's still there. And I just glided in with my handbrake into a, a service station down at the end of the road there. I was able to make it. And I just look at the dimensions every single time. How did I do that in the dark with no windshield wipers and no brakes after this guy predicted a problem with it? And coincidentally about this manager of mine, Bud Sandage, he's long since dead. His son, like 20 years ago, out of nowhere, was standing in line at a speedway station. And someone came up behind him and started stabbing him numerous times out of nowhere. The guy had been a paramedic. He came out of the paramedic thing. They were parked there. And there's all kinds of stupid crap happening. But the bottom line is, I know stuff happens. And sometimes you just got to figure it doesn't matter what the devil does. You're going to survive it because God wants you. If he don't want you, then you're on your own, baby. That's my story.
Wow, my goodness, King of Dots, that's a spooky story. It's a spooky story. That kind of makes you stop and think. Well, thank you for sharing that with us. Thank you. Yeah. Boy, I'll tell you what, everyone has a spooky demon story. Who else has something out there? Anyone have a demon story? I'll give you one where you guys are thinking. Well, this was back in the 1980s, and I had a house, and I had an apartment upstairs I was renting out. And that was to my cousin, and he was a Jehovah's Witness. And they just fellowship my cousin for smoking. They were getting ready to just fellowship, is what I should say. So the elders came and they knocked on my door because they wanted to talk to my cousin. I said, well, he's upstairs. So they went upstairs and they talked to my cousin. and they said, "Well, is there a reason why you're smoking, John?" And John said, "Yeah, there is a reason why I'm smoking." They said, "Well, what is it?" He says, "Oh, my cousin Rick downstairs, he lives there, and he has a fireplace, and the fireplace has a beam in it, an old hand-hewn barn beam that I had put in the fireplace when I built it." So the elders said, "So you think there's demons in that beam?" He says, "Yeah, that's what I think made me smoke," he told the elders. So the elders came downstairs to talk to me about the beam. So they came down, they said, "Brother Farron," because I was a strong witness at the time. They said, "Brother Farron, that fireplace you have, that beam, your cousin thinks is demonic." He says, "Demons are living in that beam." I says, "Are you serious?" So they were more or less suggesting that I take the beam out of my fireplace. I mean, it's a real masonry fireplace. I mean, you just don't take a beam out, right? So I said, "Well, that I'm going to tell you something about that beam. That beam, if that beam is demonic, then the Kingdom Hall up in New Hampshire, where I got it, is demonic. Because what they did is they built a Kingdom Hall on a barn that I bought some of the barn wood and the beam from, and that's where they built the Kingdom Hall. So that kind of quelled that story. But can you imagine that's how absurd that is, that the elders will actually even kind of question, or at least think in terms of me taking the beam out of my fireplace because it's causing my cousin to smoke? I mean, how crazy is this stuff? So that's my demon story. That's my demon story. Anyone else? Who else has one out there?
I have one.
All right, let's go with the lady first, and we'll go with the fella. Go ahead. Is that Nadine?
Okay, yeah. So this is Nicole.
Okay, Nicole.
Yeah, but it's not my story per se. It's my brother's story. We had a Ouija board. My uncle had a Ouija board, and at the time I was about 13 or 14, and then my older brother was 14 or 15, and then my younger brother and my cousin. Now, at the time, I was a Catholic, and they wanted to play with the Ouija board, and I didn't really know what a Ouija board was. I had to go down to the library. I think I went to the library in school, and I looked up what a Ouija board was, and I said, you know what? I don't want to have to play with it, because then we have to get a priest to come and do an exorcism on us if we have a demon, if a demon were to, enter us. So anyway, they decided that they wanted to play with it. And they played with it all week. They would make the little triangle thing move. They thought it was magic. I didn't see them make it move, but they thought it was magic. And then my older brother said one night, while they were sleeping, they were all in one room sleeping, there was this loud banging noise that woke them up. And then when they looked up on the wall, they saw a pair of bright eyes just staring at them. And the bright eyes let out a very sharp, eerie scream. And they started to scream. And my grandparents woke up because they wanted to know what the hell was happening. Anyway, the next day, when I went in and I was asking them, what was going on? What happened last night? Why did Ma and Pa have to come and discipline you guys? Then they were telling me about what happened, that this demon appeared to them with bright red eyes, glowing eyes, and screeching at them. And I didn't believe it until they showed me on the wall where they couldn't reach because we had very high ceilings. There were 2 burnt marks where the eyes were. And it was in the house for many, many years until we broke the house down a few years ago. So then it happened to them again, but this time they didn't see the demon, or so they said, but they heard the screeching, and it happened to them a few times after that, and then it stopped. And so I told them, well, don't play with Ouija boards, and then no demon would come and haunt you. So that's my brother's demon story.
Well, that's an interesting story, Nicole. Thank you for sharing that with us. Now, I tell you, we hear all these stories, and, some of these got to be true. They all can't be, made up. So like you say, it's you saw the burn marks on the wall. It got you thinking. Well, thank you, Nicole.
Hey, Rick.
Yes, you're next.
Rick, Rick,
Yeah.
I got a story. That was Gilbert's, but I got one that happened to me in Gilbert.
Yeah.
We used to back in the early 90s, we were big time Phoenix Suns fans. Back in the Charles Barkley days when the Phoenix was #1. And so we used to drive sometimes to Phoenix and Yuma. So when we were driving back through the desert at about 1 or 2 o'clock at night in the morning, we would listen to Art Bell, Coast to Coast, and it sounded kind of like your show, Coast to Coast with Rick Fearon. And so this guy was on this night, and he was talking about the God of the Milky Way galaxy, and he was just a real nut job. But he was talking about all these space explorers from the Milky Way. And Art Bell was interviewing him. And so me and Gilbert, we're driving through the desert, 100 miles an hour, middle of the morning. And he goes, well, when we come back, we're going to give you the name of the God of the Milky Way. And so me and Gilbert were thinking, is it going to be Krypton or something? So we're staying tuned. And we're listening to the radio. And all of a sudden, he goes, we're back. And now tell us the rest of the story. What is the name of the God of the Milky Way? And he goes, the name of the God of the Milky Way is Jehovah. And he started saying Jehovah. Well, it freaked me and Gilbert out because, witnesses, and we were both elders at the time. You're not supposed to be listening to scary stories. And we sucked our thumbs and held hands and started praying all the way back from Yuma that night. We were scared. But
That's
have you ever heard of such a thing?
Well, I'll tell you what. No, I never knew the god of. I mean, if Art Bell said the god of Alcyone or the Pleiades,
yeah. So, but this was just one of them guys that writes science fiction books. But he was serious. He was serious in his description and in his nut job. He really was preaching that Jehovah was the name of the God of the Milky Way galaxy.
Wow. Well, that would freak. Well, that would freak you out. I mean, especially being elders, at the time, and you're hearing that.
You're not supposed to be listening to that stuff.
Well, thank you, Jesse, for sharing that story. No, I mean, there's so many things going on in the witness world with demons, and I wonder sometimes if the Watchtower uses it, I said, to control people, or whether that stuff just took off and kind of found its own legs and went about its own business, and people to this day still go with it. Anyone else got a story? Go ahead.
I got one.
Go ahead.
Yeah, this is Tom.
Yeah. Hi, Tom. Hi, Tom. Yes, Tom. Yep. Go ahead. Hi.
So when it's really weird. I left at 18 years old, but I became good friends with this other family, and they kind of took me in as their own son. I really liked their daughter, but she remained like a sister, and the parents I got really close with them. So one time, there was a wicked bad snowstorm in 1986 or 87, I can't remember. But where it was so bad that the plows couldn't keep up. So it was a blizzard. And that night, this woman, we had some friends from where I worked. I worked at some condos, and so some of the other people that worked with us were there at this gathering. But then the woman, the mother, ended up being. They thought she was being possessed. She was talking weird. I remember one of them ended up, she was just talking gibberish, and one of them ended up taking it's like a bookmark that had a song's quote on it from the Bible, and they were reading that to her to try to calm her down, to try to quell the demons, so to speak. And I had never experienced anything like this, but I had heard of it because I was brought up as a witness. But now here I am. I'm not a witness anymore. I'm 18, and I had just left, and this is happening. This woman is being possessed. They all believed. They weren't even witnesses, they believed she was being possessed. So they were reading this scripture, and I went and I got my Bible, my Jehovah's Witness Bible, the New World Translation, and I read the same verses, but instead of Lord, it said Jehovah. And I was reading the same verses to try to calm her down, to get her just, I didn't even know what I was doing. It was really freaky, scary. So I'm reading it and I'm using Jehovah's name, and all of a sudden, while I was saying that, by reading from that Bible and using the actual name Jehovah, he turned to me and in a man's voice said, "Do not you say that name. Do not say that name." It was freaky, scared the crap out of me. I just did not know how to handle it. It was so real. Her daughter had been, I found out her daughter had been playing with the Ouija board with her friends recently. And so the next day, I mean, I gave up. I could not continue to try to be spiritual, because I couldn't after that. Do not say that name.
Wow.
Anyway, and then the next day, me and my brother, we got the Ouija board and we tried to burn it. And just like in all the stories that you've heard, it would not burn. We could not burn that thing with gasoline and everything. It just would not burn. It was freaky, but it was real.
Well, there you go, Tom.
And I became really good friends with those people. They ended up being my spare family, because my other family, left me because of the witnesses. I left being a witness, and for some reason that happened, and then it just kind of went away. We just kind of forgot about it, and I still remain friends.
Well, thank you.
It was freaky, scary.
Well, thank you for telling us that story, Tom. My goodness, no, we all have those stories. My goodness, and you hear about those Ouija boards, you just can't burn. Boy, well, I'll tell you, when you stop and when you stop and think about it, one of the biggest demon stories really ever to come out of the witness world, and of course, some of these are so realistic, and some are really over the top, so to speak. But the connection with Jehovah's Witnesses and the Smurf. These, of course, were a series of urban legends within the Jehovah's Witness community, particularly popular back in the 1980s. There have been many falsely claimed Smurf and demonic stories in the Watchtower. Now, some of these that you heard tonight sound pretty reasonable, but these stories actually spread, this Smurf story, throughout the whole organization, and it suggested that the Smurf toys and the decorations with Smurf characters on them would become demonic if you had these. So there was actually parents that were throwing kids' Smurf dolls out, parents that would not take anything that had a Smurf on it. And I mean, probably you've heard so many different variations of the Smurf, but these legends was something that spread around like wildfire. I mean, how many times have we heard even people coming on here, the 6 screens, and talking about the Smurf doll? Someone took a Smurf doll to the Kingdom Hall, and the Smurf doll came to life and walked around the Kingdom Hall. And then also you hear stories. Another one I remember was, a sister came to the Kingdom Hall and she had a Smurf necklace on, and the Smurf jumped out of the necklace and started running away. So you hear all these crazy stories in the witness world, but according to even AI here, because I checked out Smurfs on AI, in fact, they're calling it the Smurf panic, the Smurf panic that took place in the Watchtower. And it was kind of like a panic. Everybody was coming out with stories about the Smurf, but that was probably the biggest demonic story ever. But I want to, does anyone have one more story they want to tell? All right. Well, I wanted to thank everyone for coming and look at what we're going to do rather than really even cast a vote. Everyone take a point. Everyone that be on the honor system, take a point for telling your story and add those points up, accumulate those points, and you can win a prize. But I want to thank everyone for coming in here tonight for our 6 Screens, JW World News. Now, tomorrow we'll be on 6 Screens Sunday. We do something a little bit different tomorrow. We get into the scriptures, we get into theology. So if that's what you feel you'd like to learn more about, theology and the Watchtower and how false it is, well, join us tomorrow beginning at 1 o'clock right here on the 6 Screens Telenetwork. We have a program called Knowing God After Leaving the Watchtower. And it's a great program. We have 2 Christian apologists that will come on and talk about tomorrow. They're going to be talking about the wild beast of Revelation. What is it? Where to come from? Is it here yet? So you want to tune in tomorrow for that. And then we have a number of other programs on 6 Screens Sunday as well, all tomorrow afternoon, right here on the 6 Screens Telenetwork. Well, thank you, excuse me, for wanting to come with us tonight and spend some time with us. And I want you guys to always keep standing tall. Don't you ever give in, up, or out. In the last one, leaving the Watchtower, please turn off the new light. Thank you very much. We'll see you tomorrow, 6 Screens Sunday.
Trick or treat.